Hi, fellow debaters. Welcome to this round of debate where the motion is this House believes that we should terraform Mars. I'm going to encourage you to switch on your camera at all times, especially when you're speaking, because that's an important part of presentation. When we can see your facial expression, especially your body language, I would even encourage you to show more of your body so that through your body language, you can add on to the impact of your persuasive skills. So I encourage you to do that. That will give you higher scores in terms of your style and presentation. Of course, contents and strategy matters. Okay. If you guys are ready, have any questions before we start? Otherwise, we will let the first speaker of the government side, which is DH Martians, to start the debate. You have 4 to 7 minutes. The time is flexible. Any questions before we start?
Sorry, may I ask, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? If you want to check your audio now, this is a good time to do it.
Like to check that I'm audible?
Yes, you're perfectly audible.
And I am audible too, right?
Yes, you are good.
Thank you.
I believe I've seen both teams in action because I've observed your earlier rounds. I think you guys are well prepared for it. I encourage you to ask more points of information that will make the debate more interactive. It shows off your debating skills. If you guys are ready, we'll ask.
I have one last question. So how do you, can you raise your hand and ask someone for a POI, or do you just say it in the middle of their speech?
Yes, you can raise your hand. That's why it helps for us to see you on camera. You can raise your hand, you can raise your voice so that we know that you have a POI to present.
Okay.
Yep. And when the speaker hears a POI or sees that, you are obliged to either say, you wait for it, or you can or the person can post the POI right away.
I'd just like to clarify, our team would rather the POIs be verbal, so you unmute and then just say POI to us. We'd rather that than you raise your hand because you might miss it.
Yes. Please give us all verbal POIs.
I encourage you to do both, verbal and visual. Yep. That will give you better scores in terms of presentation. It shows that you use all the tools at your disposal. Okay, if no further questions.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Is it okay if I don't turn off my camera because currently it's not working very well?
Let me see. Who said speaking?
Persuasion Power B, Sophia.
Sophia, you are the third speaker. It's okay that you turn off your camera right now, but when you're speaking or when you're posing a POI, I will ask you to try turn on your camera.
Okay.
Okay, give it a try. If it doesn't work because if you see some latency or delay, we will make an exception, but I'll do encourage you to try. If no more questions, I think we should go ahead because we are running a little behind schedule. No more questions? Then Claire, you are free to start anytime.
Beginning my speech in 3, 2, 1. This House believes humans should attempt to terraform Mars. The debate on terraforming begs the question of whether humans have the moral right to sculpt another world. We firmly believe that in our collective pursuit of progress and survival, it is just human nature to desire to advance and safeguard our species. In the world today, humans have arguably changed the world for the better. Throughout history, despite our occasional missteps and follies, we've shown an inherent capability to right our wrongs, to heal wounds, and to forge pathways based on understanding and compassion. Therefore, our attempts to terraform Mars must be seen as a natural step to further propel scientific discovery and reignite mankind's innate quest for knowledge and curiosity. Moving on onto our definitions, we define humans as smart, rapidly evolving creatures with the innate potential to improve and change ecosystems or planets for themselves or other beings. We define terraform as the act of changing a planet to resemble Earth so that it can support human life to ensure the continued survival of humanity, so as to not allow years of scientific and human progress go to waste. We define Mars as a planet where humans have placed rovers and dedicated a great deal of effort to find life form on, but have yet to find any. We are willing to trade off possible life forms on the Martian surface for the continued survival of our own kind. This is because the preservation of the human species is not only a matter of self-preservation, but a broader commitment to the continuation of human culture, knowledge, and the pursuit of progress. As such, the bottom for this debate should be which house increases the survival rate of the human race in the long run. In the same vein, this is important because this is the promise of the future that inspires generations to continue embarking on ambitious scientific discoveries that continue to improve our standard of life. Moving on to my first substantive, attempts to terraform Mars encourage scientific discoveries which propels humanity forward.
POI.
What does the word like? Yes?
If we actually terraform Mars, who's going to live on Mars?
Sorry, could you speak it slower? Repeat it slower?
If we terraform Mars successfully, who will live on Mars?
If we terraform Mars successfully, humans will live on Mars. Anyway, moving on to my speech. What does the world look like today? In today's fast-paced, technologically driven society, information is vast, innovations are frequent, and breakthroughs are, paradoxically, common. As a result, our world feels increasingly oversaturated with discoveries, with many groundbreaking achievements often overshadowed by the next big thing. In such an environment, there's a pressing need for a new perspective, a catalyst, or a significant incentive to galvanize researchers, scientists, and the general populace to rally behind grand-inspiring missions. These missions, in turn, push the boundaries of human knowledge and capability. One doesn't have to look too far back to see the tangible benefits of such endeavors. From advancements in computer microchips, which were essential for compact navigation computers in the polar capsules, to the development of insulated, reflective materials used today in firefighting equipment and home insulation, the moon landing was more than just a footstep on a foreign celestial body. It was a leap for humankind, bringing forth technologies and innovations that seamlessly integrated into the life of everyday individuals. Preemptively, we reject opposition's arguments that such groundbreaking findings can still take place in their world without attempts to terraform Mars. This is because groundbreaking findings are often lost in the noise and swiftly replaced by the next headline. In such a backdrop, mere incremental advancements or Earth-centric explorations, such as the opponent might suggest, can't offer the same seismic shift in perspective or inspiration that a monumental task like terraforming Mars can. Why is this ideal? Terraforming Mars is not just about creating a new habitat for humans. It's about the journey and the spillover effects of that journey. It's a spark that ignites a new era of innovations, research, and discoveries. By setting such a high-reaching goal, we inadvertently set the stage for advancements in various fields, from biology to physics, from engineering to environmental science. Each challenge faced and each solution derived might open doors to improvements on Earth, whether in the form of sustainable energy solutions, advanced life support systems, or new agricultural techniques. What changes if we choose not to attempt to terraform Mars? If we heed the opposition's caution and avoid the Mars challenge, the dynamism in the scientific discovery could wane. This is because the allure of Mars isn't just its rich soils, but the multifaceted problems it presents. Instead of pioneering new technologies for extreme environments, we might become complacent, focusing only on incremental improvements in existing technologies. By not pushing the boundaries, we lose out on the opportunity for unforeseen advancements, much like the ones we enjoyed post the Apollo missions. Why is it important that we continue to attempt even in spite of difficulties? Human history is a testament to our resilience, curiosity, and drive. Whenever we've been met with a challenge, we've risen to the occasion, often emerging stronger and wiser. The journey to terraform Mars will be fraught with uncertainties and challenges. However, it's essential to persevere, not just for the end goal, but for the process. Every hurdle overcome will lead to new knowledge. Every failure will provide a lesson, steering us toward better solutions, not just for Mars, but for Earth. In a world grappling with environmental, technological, and societal challenges, The learnings from such an ambitious endeavor could very well chart the path for a brighter, more sustainable future on our home planet. And that is why I'm proud to propose. I'd like to open myself up to POIs from the floor. I'd like to end my speech. Thank you.
Okay, good job. You took just over 6 minutes. You have good use of your time. For the opposition team, the negative team, the first speaker, are you ready, Claire?
Sorry?
The first speaker from the opposition team, is that Claire?
No, that's proposition.
Right. Could you, the other team, the other first speaker, could you speak? Catherine, is that Catherine? Persuasion Power B team.
Okay. So we oppose the following resolution. This House
Okay,
believes
hold
humans
on.
should attempt-
Your voice is a little soft. Can you try testing your audio again?
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, now it's a lot better.
Okay. I wasn't speaking into the microphone. Okay, so we oppose the following resolution. This House believes humans should attempt to terraform Mars. Nobody can deny that the fact that we kind of screwed up planet Earth. We built factories, polluted the air, and wasted too much fresh water. We littered the ground. The list goes on and on. It's clear that the proposition thinks that Mars will be a blank slate for us humans, but it really isn't. Why? Because if we terraform Mars, it's like starting Earth all over again, except in a later era. Eventually, there will be buildings on Mars. There will be factories, labs, even homes to colonize Mars. You see, the problem here is that Mars will have to essentially be a repeat of what we did to Earth. Then we're going to have to find another solution, which will most likely be terraforming another planet. If you think Mars is just a dead planet because no life was found on it, think again, because all of those Martian rocks are part of Martian life. All those frozen rivers are part of Martian life. By terraforming Mars, we're killing Martian life and replacing it with our own life, humans. However, we don't have the right to do that. Everything in the solar system has its own way of life, peaceful, with no activity. Earth is the only one where we belong, and my partner will elaborate more on this. Now I'm going to talk a little about the resolution. Note that the resolution says that not robots, humans are going to be doing the terraforming. While it's true that it's extremely hard to terraform Mars, if the mission is carried out by robots instead of humans, I think it would be safer if there was a mix of artificial
POI?
intelligence work. Yes.
This motion is about whether or not we should terraform Mars, not whether or not we can or how to go about doing so. Are you conceding the point that we should terraform Mars then?
I'm just adding this onto what how we shouldn't terraform, why we shouldn't terraform Mars. Okay. However, the resolution says it won't be robots. It's not a mix of robots and humans. It's only humans who will be terraforming Mars. The risk that we will need to take to go back and forth between planets is pretty big. In addition, Mars isn't really an easy place to terraform with unfavorable conditions for us to land on. The sheer difficulty of terraforming Mars is already one reason we shouldn't attempt to terraform Mars, but it's easier to terraform Earth. Earth is already there. It's been favorable conditions for a very long time. The climate is just a bit out of balance. Terraforming Earth sounds like a piece of cake when compared to terraforming Mars because Mars has no atmosphere, no magnetic field, and temperatures hitting minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. When compared to Earth, it has a magnetic field, it has a slightly too thick atmosphere, and Earth temperature are nowhere near as extreme as Mars. That's part of the reason why we should just drop the idea of terraforming Mars. If only humans try to do the nearly impossible task of terraforming Mars, then lives may be lost. Whereas terraforming Earth is probably safer. Another solution is not to do.
You need to
What?
respond to say whether you want to wait for the POI or you want to refuse the POI. Could you
Okay,
respond whether you want to accept it or to?
I'll
reject
wait. I'll wait for. I'll accept it. The moment we start attempting to terraform Mars, there's no going back, because whatever space agency that's doing this understands that terraforming Mars is a huge commitment, is ready to take all the risks to terraform Mars at any cost. This means that Mars will eventually be terraformed, and it's inevitable that we fail the first time. This point is valid because the resolution never says that if humans fail to terraform Mars, they will never attempt to terraform Mars ever again. I'll take your POI.
Earlier, you mentioned that we should be terraforming Earth because, quote, it's a piece of cake compared to Mars. If it's so easy to terraform Earth, why have we not done it sooner?
That is actually that's up to the government, I guess, because I guess that that's up to the government if there's like actually a lot of things done to try to stop climate change, animal abuse, and etc. because it's harming our Earth, but some people, they just don't really care. Okay. Finally, for humans to attempt terraforming Mars without robots, as I previously stated in my speech, would leave devastating health effects for the ones who terraform, and those who will attempt to move, like skin cancer, causes less protection from sun rays, hard storms, dry climate, radiation, and gravity levels that affect fertility, which will slowly make our population shrink at an alarming rate. Human strength and thank you, and proud to oppose.
You have just passed 5 minutes. You still have like close to 2 minutes. Have you done your conclusion? Or you ready to end your speech?
And
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for the points. Well delivered. The second speaker from ZH Martians government side, is that Elizabeth?
Yes, and if you will give me a second, I will be ready to speak soon. Okay then, beginning my speech in 3, hold on.
Okay, before you carry on, I'm going to encourage you to try to less hate space and show more of your
Oh, sure.
if you can. Yeah, that will help improve your on to
There
the
we go. Is this better?
Yes, perfect.
All right then, beginning my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, starting out with some rebuttals for the House today. First off, I would like to point out the opposition talked about terraforming Earth being a piece of cake. But how on earth, pardon the pun, do you terraform Earth? To terraform, as our first speaker defined, is to make something like Earth. So how do you make Earth like Earth? And furthermore, they also mentioned that terraforming Mars will be very risky and disproportionately dangerous. This is not true because we are not going in blind. And as the entire first point mentioned, that it will be difficult and hard to achieve terraforming Mars, we should still try, as the motion itself says attempt, not succeed. Now, another one of opposition's main points was that humans should not be allowed to terraform Mars because they would just be destroying another planet. Now, this is not true because terraforming aims to modify the Martian environment to support human life, not to destroy the planet. Ethical considerations can distinguish between transformation with potential consequences and outright destruction. Terraforming may involve changes such as altering the atmosphere, temperature, and surface conditions, which can have consequences but are not necessarily destructive per se. Now, moving on to my second substantive. Attempting to terraform Mars reinforces and enhances humanity's innate quest for knowledge and curiosity, which I will note directly reinforces why we should be taking on this challenge. In our modern technology-driven era, instant gratification has become the norm, with the entirety of human knowledge available at our fingertips. The mysteries that once drove exploration and innovation seem fewer and further between. We have grown too comfortable with our current station of life, learning to accept things as they come rather than boldly seeking the truth or questioning the world as we know it. This complacency consumes us, making us lose our sense of wonder and healthy skepticism. This is problematic because curiosity and exploration are cornerstones of evolution and progress. Without them, we stagnate. And as we lose the drive to explore and understand, we become more susceptible to misinformation and more resistant to change. Without the thirst for knowledge, we miss out on opportunities to innovate and find solutions to global challenges. It's this innate curiosity that has led to most of history's greatest discoveries and advancements. If we attempt to terraform Mars, however, it will reignite humanity's passion for exploration. Such a venture filled with unknown and unprecedented challenges beckons all to think beyond our current constraints. It reintroduces a world of mystery, promoting a healthy interest where Mars becomes a canvas for human curiosity, driving us to push beyond our known boundaries. This is important because rekindling our collective curiosity and drive to explore is vital for our intellectual and societal growth. It ensures that we remain forward-thinking, resilient, and adaptable. It also promotes a culture of lifelong learning, where knowledge and the pursuit of understanding are valued. This can lead to unexpected solutions for challenges on Earth, fostering collaboration and unity in a shared quest for knowledge and discovery. Moving on to my third and final substantive now. Ultimately, humans should at the very least attempt to terraform Mars as it aligns with our human instinct to survive. Historically speaking, the world has witnessed countless instances of survival of the fittest, from the animal kingdom to human societies. Just as lions hunt to survive, humans have the right to act in their best interest, especially when our survival is at stake. Therefore, it is only human nature to want to survive and thrive. Over the millennia, humans have migrated, innovated, and adapted to challenges, all in the name of survival. We have survived ice ages, droughts, pandemics, often emerging stronger and more resilient as a species. Hence, seeking out opportunities such as terraform Mars is merely a continuation of this journey. This is ideal because this innate survival instinct has driven so much of humanity's progress. It is this very same instinct that led us to cure disease, to build shelter against natural calamities, and to explore uncharted territories. In fact, embracing this instinct ensures that humans remain at the pinnacle of the evolutionary ladder and continue to progress. Moreover, it remains an unfortunate reality that Earth is undergoing rapid environmental changes, many of which are detrimental to our survival. We're thinking climate change and global warming here. And note, the proposition is by no means absolving humanity from culpability. But it does not follow that just because we mess up, we lose our right to survive altogether. Now, what changes if we do not even bother to terraform Mars, to even bother to attempt to terraform Mars? Is that we will be suppressing and losing the survival instinct, which would halt our progress. Now, a society that does not prioritize its survival can become complacent, stagnate, and will eventually decline. Moreover, challenges that might otherwise have been surmountable become existential threats. Therefore, if we choose not to pursue the terraformation of Mars, we are placing all our bets on the survival and recovery of Earth, which in the grand cosmic scheme of things is so risky. This could also lead to more intense resource conflicts in the future. This change is worse off for mankind because the knowledge that there is no alternative, no backup plan, will intensify geopolitical tensions around resource scarcity and allocation. History shows that when resources become scarce, conflicts arise. By not pursuing alternatives, we are inadvertently setting the stage for increased competition and potentially conflict. Just as early humans migrated in search of better lands and resources, the idea of colonizing Mars can be seen as a modern extension of this migratory instinct. Mars represents an opportunity, a new frontier where humanity can thrive if Earth becomes uninhabitable. Ultimately, mankind should attempt to terraform Mars as we owe it to all who come before us to safeguard the vast amount of knowledge, culture, art, and technological advancements that they have made to pass it down to subsequent generations, be them on Earth or on Mars. And that is why I am so proud to propose. Thank you.
Good use of time. You're just 30 seconds short of the 7 minutes limit. I will encourage both sides, especially persuasion powers, to pose more POI. This shows that you're a good listener. You can identify logical flaws and you can challenge the other team. Going forward, now the second speaker from negative side, Athena. Already? Let us know.
All right. My time starts in 3, 2, 1. So the opposition starts off by posing a great question. How do you make Earth like Earth? Well, that ties into the whole reason why we're even terraforming Mars. It's because we think that Earth is too far gone to save, and we need to quench our thirst for exploration or extend our survival by terraforming Mars. But like they forgot to mention that Mars is actually smaller than Earth, and then if there's no way to move our whole population, which will be 10 billion by the probably or more that by the time we actually get to terraform Mars, there's no way to move that all to Mars because Mars is smaller than Earth. So then that means that we're basically leaving half of Earth's population behind, so then the other half can move to Mars. And that's like, it just raised the whole question of whether or not terraforming Mars is ethical. And I'll move on to that later in my speech. Terraforming Mars, they say that humans should at least try to terraform Mars. Well, you know, I think our first speaker did a great job explaining why if we attempt to terraform Mars, then other planets will follow because our thirst for exploration will never stop. And then that means that at some point in the future, even if it's 1 billion years later, we're going to be controlling the whole universe. And I'm going to be going later in my speech to see if whether or not we have the right to do that.
Why?
I'll answer that later. And I'll move on to my positive matter. We oppose the following resolution. This House believes humans should attempt to terraform Mars. In my speech, I'm going to be going on about why we should terraform Earth instead of Mars, and why it's a more optimal choice. By pure random chance, the Big Bang happened, and then 8 planets were formed, or 9 if you're counting Pluto. Earth was the only planet that was a Goldilocks planet, one that could house life, had liquid water, and had land masses to accommodate our population. We were gifted with fresh water as well, but over time, we're kind of screwing up Earth because of all the pollution that's happening and how we're over consuming water. And we deplete our resources, right? So then now we're like, okay, we can just move to Mars, and then that's going to solve all our problems. Well, then that means we're going to have the technology to make another planet's air cleaner, their water purified and melted, and to build back its atmosphere. So like, instead of doing that for Mars, which is actually smaller than Earth, we should just terraform Earth instead. Because if Earth really is as messed up that we have to move to Mars, as the proposition says, then we should probably just terraform Earth. And as I said earlier, it makes more sense because Earth is bigger than Mars, right? There's so many ways to terraform Earth, and like it's safer too because then we don't have to travel back and forth between Mars and Earth. And while the proposition brings up a point that that we'll like learn something from terraforming Mars, I think the only thing that we're going to learn is that we have the power to screw up another planet. So the whole way to prevent this whole thing is to just not terraform Mars at all and just terraform Earth.
Athena,
and I'll take your POI now.
Thank you so very much. Okay, so you were saying earlier that Earth is too far to save, and you don't support the terraforming of Mars. Are you planning to just let humanity die out?
Like we stated about 2 or 3 times, we plan on thinning out Earth's atmosphere, and finding a way to purify more fresh water, because it would be significantly easier than trying to save Mars, which it has never been a Goldilocks planet, or maybe it has been for a short period of time. But Earth is easier to save, just to clarify that. And my second point is I'm going to explain that we don't own the universe. Just because we can terraform a planet doesn't mean we are entitled to terraforming it. Earth is our planet. It's where we belong. It's where humans have. I'll respond to it later. we're trying to find solutions with our overpopulation issues and for Plan B, and we're trying to find a planet that can have us, right? But none of these planets suit our needs for a reason. We've been living on Earth for roughly 5,000 years, and Earth's environment has been rubbing off of us. It's hard to adapt to another planet, and we don't have the right to do it. We belong on Earth, and any planet that's reachable is not up for grabs. The solar system should remain as untouched by Homo sapiens as possible to ensure that 7 other planets will be preserved. Besides, if we move to Mars, what's the next step? Another one of Jupiter's moons, a still asteroid, maybe Mars will become some kind of martyr or example of what humans can do, and other planets will be terraformed later, whether or not it's 1 billion years later or not. And if you think that we can just stay on Mars and Earth, well, that's not a valid point, because the whole point of terraforming Mars is so we can have a plan B, and plan B is smaller than Earth. So it's like inevitable that we'll eventually need to terraform another planet to save humanity. We're never going to quench our hunger for another place to live and for survival, as the proposition said, because we want to. The reason why humans have gone so far is because we are driven by our wants and needs, and we will always want and need another planet as our population grows. At some point in the future, I guarantee that if we terraform Mars, the whole solar system will be like Earth at some point. And do we want that? No, because even if there's no life on other planets, there's still planets. The other planets have their way of life with no wars or pollution or global warming, and screwing up a planet should not be on our to-do list. Not going to Mars in the first place will stop this whole catastrophe of events. And again, we are terrestrial and we stay on Earth. Mars should be untouchable and not terraformed for as long as possible. And I'll take your POI now.
Earlier you talked about how how the thirst for human exploration will never end. May I ask why that's such a bad thing that humans should not be exploring the universe?
Well, because like I said, it's not ethical to just, we're humans, okay? We're terrestrial people, and we're supposed to be staying on Earth. We don't have the right to like explore other planets, because even if like they don't have Earth's life on it, then I mean, it kind of brings up the question whether or not we want all planets to look like Earth, and I already explained why we don't want that. Thank you. That's like the end of my speech.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you for your points and your performance. Moving on, let's see. Yep, the third speaker from ZH Mars government side.
Yeah, that will be me. I just need to check that I'm audible.
Perfectly, loud and clear.
Okay, beginning my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'd like to start off. I'd like to just present some rebuttals for the House today. Opposition has built their entire case about how humans don't have the ethics and humans don't have the right to go to Mars, but they haven't exactly elaborated why we don't have such a right to go to Mars, or why we don't have such a right to survive for ourselves. Every species, do they not agree that every species has the right to do the most it can survive? My second speaker mentioned that even in the animal kingdom, species do anything to survive. We've heard the term survival of the fittest, the theory of natural selection. And there is no success without attempt. Now, they are pro-Earth, and so are we. We both concede that yes, on both sides we are screwing up the planet, but by terraforming Mars, by sending some people onto Mars, as they have rightly pointed out, Mars cannot house the entire population of the world, which is why we are going to send some people there. Think about it. The reason why our resources are so depleted is because there's just such a high population. So every person needs to use the Earth's water, Earth's resources, Earth's land, and products need to be pumped out for it. Now, if we put these people on Mars, that means that the drain on Earth, the amount of resources Earth needs to produce for the humans living on Earth, will be lowered, meaning that the Earth will now have time to heal, since there won't be as many gases pumped in the air, less water will be used up, and this gives the Earth its time to heal. They've also constantly talked about how they have to terraform, about how they want to terraform Earth, but I want to ask them how they plan on doing so. And it's very clear that they do not exactly understand what terraforming is. And they're also digressing. The scope is whether or not we should even attempt to terraform Mars, not whether or not we should move humanity to Mars. And they keep, and as I've said before, they keep on harping on the fact that, on not the fact, but whether or not it's ethical for humans to move to Mars, and that humans are just supposed to stay on Earth. But why do we not have the right to explore? If we have the means, what's wrong in us exploring? What's wrong in us trying to keep ourselves alive? Yes, we screwed up the planet, but does that mean our future generations, people who are probably not even born yet, do they deserve to live in a planet that's robbed of resources so hot that they can't even live? No, they don't, because they don't deserve this. Now, again, to address their point that we should not be allowed to terraform Mars, as we would just be destroying another planet, my second speaker has already talked about how there will be a transformation versus destruction, about the transformation versus destruction point, where by terraforming, we're transforming Mars's atmosphere. We're not necessarily destroying Mars's atmosphere. And the opposition has failed to explain how by terraforming, we are just going to magically destroy the Martian atmosphere. Remember, we also want Mars to be hospitable to us. So if we destroy Martian atmosphere, how does that become, how can Mars become hospitable to us? Now, even if, yes?
Oh, just to clarify, we didn't say that we're going to destroy the Martian atmosphere. We're saying that we should destroy part of Earth's atmosphere to terraform Earth.
Very well, I'll take your point there. And now opposition has just conceded that they're going to destroy Earth to terraform Earth, which again, they have failed to understand the concept of terraforming. Now, moving back, even if we acknowledge that humans should not be allowed to terraform Mars, terraforming Mars may be considered as an ethical endeavor. It can be considered as an ethical endeavor if it is seen as essential for the long-term survival and advancement of humanity. Who made opposition the arbiters of what's ethical and what's not? Ensuring the survival and prosperity of future generations can be viewed as an ethical imperative. Ethical considerations should encompass responsible terraforming practices, including rigorous planetary protection protocols to prevent contamination, respect for potential Martian ecosystems, and adherence to ethical guidelines. Terraforming can be pursued responsibly with a commitment to minimizing harm and preserving the Martian environment to the greatest extent possible, which I believe clashes directly with the majority of their argument that states that we should not be that we should not terraform Mars because it's simply unethical. Now, some people may call this a necessary evil, but some people may say this is horrible, but at the worst come to worst, it is a necessary evil. Ethics is a human construct. No other animal species out there has ethics, and as I have just mentioned, ethics can change. Why does opposition get to decide what's ethical and what's not? On our side, we believe that it is ethical to ensure that our future generations have a place to live in, whether it's Earth or Mars. And I don't see why opposition can call this unethical and why we shouldn't have a right to protect our own future. I open myself up to POIs from the floor. With that,
any POIs from the other team?
I have a POI.
yes.
You realize that if we have the technology to make Mars habitable, then we have the technology to make Earth habitable, right? So then that means that it's not necessary to really terraform Mars. We can just terraform Earth, make it habitable again.
What we need to understand firstly is that we're terraforming Mars, no one's living there. Terraforming Earth, there's so many people living here. And yeah, sure, maybe we have the technology to terraform Earth. Maybe it's better. But again, that is not in the scope of debate. And if you want to terraform Earth, so be it. But you're still conceding that terraforming is a solution. And I'd like to establish a link that and again and I'd like to just say ethics can change. Ethics are changed based on necessity. And even if it is unethical, like I said, ethics can change. And that's why their argument on ethics and whether or not we have a reason to terraform completely falls. And the fact that they make it out that our exploration is a bad thing, but as my speakers have pointed out, exploration can result in positive spillover effects to us as well. And that's why I'm so happy to propose.
20 seconds left to 7 minutes. If no further questions from the other team, we will conclude the third speaker from government side. Sophia, if you're able to turn on a camera, we will appreciate that. But if you couldn't because of technical reasons, we will understand as well. Could you give it a try, please?
Okay.
That is good. You're ready to, you can start anytime you wish.
My time starts in 3, 2, 1. In this speech, I would like to review my opponent's arguments and point out the errors, and review our arguments and point out the strengths. Once again, we oppose the following resolution. This House believes humans should attempt to terraform Mars. In the opponent's first speech, they have stated that us humans have changed our world for the better and right or corrected our historic wrongs. However, this is untrue. Why are we even attempting or should attempt to terraform Mars if we have made our world for the better? One of the leading factors besides overpopulation is climate change. Us humans have not changed the world for the better, as we have caused climate change through our cars. Even electric cars still contribute to climate change. Oil and cutting down trees are all factors that we humans have given the world to speed up climate change. And thus, our opponent's point saying that we have changed our world for the better is untrue. My opponent has also stated that they are willing to trade Martian life on Mars for human lives, which I would like to refute. The proposition has already answered our POI asking who will live on Mars. If we should attempt to terraform Mars, humans will live on Mars. If we should attempt to terraform Mars for the point of moving human life there and continue our survival, there blockade. Can I take the POI later? The gravity levels on Mars affect human strength, weight, and fertility. Fertility levels of women drop. The population will decline drastically within only 5 years. Currently, there are millions of baby births per year. On Mars, the level of births will drop due to the effect of the planet's atmosphere on women's fertility, which supports my teammate's argument on why we should not attempt to terraform Mars, because this will slow down human survival and rebirth. This shows how my opponent's argument thus falls short in this aspect, because we will not continue to survive, because eventually our populations will drop because of the fertility levels. Now I'd like to review and refute the proposition of the second speaker. The second speaker has asked the question in response to my teammate, how would we terraform Earth? Because we have defined terraforming as creating another planet like Earth. So how do we terraform Earth into Earth? My teammate has already done a great job refuting this, which I would now like to add on to. The proposition has not specifically addressed which period of Earth we are terraforming or should terraform it to. We could terraform Earth, the current Earth, to terraform and create it into the Earth of the 19th century, where climate change was less obvious.
POI again.
I'll take the POI.
Thank you. Don't you think you're digressing by now? The whole point of this debate is to discuss whether or not we should terraform Mars, not how we should terraform Earth.
I know that. I am simply trying to refute the arguments and help answer your question. I would like to continue now. We would terraform Earth by terraforming it into the 19th century and working towards reversing climate change or preventing it from continuing. Now I would like to move on to more positive matters. In the first speech, my partner has explained how, although it is undeniably true, Earth is overpopulating, overheating, etc., once humans start to terraform Mars, it will soon be another Earth with our civilization's current advancements in construction, specifically which my teammates have pointed out is a waste because of the fact terraforming an entirely different planet that is 7 months away and with harsher climates. In our speech, we pointed out that the high chance of human lives and limbs being lost throughout the project. This is undoubtedly true, as Mars has no atmosphere, no magnetic field, and temperatures hitting as low as -100, 300 degrees Fahrenheit when compared to Earth, which has a magnetic field that it is a strictly too thick atmosphere, and Earth's temperature are nowhere near as extreme as Mars. All these factors make it difficult for humans to terraform Mars, at least in a somewhat safe manner, and why we should not even attempt to. The resolution says this House believes humans should attempt to terraform Mars, not robots or any other forms of AI intelligence, which my partner has previously pointed out. The proposition continuously skips this. We have emphasized on this fact. I'll take it up later. For only humans to attempt to terraform Mars will be extremely dangerous, exhausting, time-corrupting, and not easily possible for simply and only humans to change. Thank you and proud to oppose. I'll take the PLIs now.
You just mentioned about how robots and AI should go and attempt to terraform Mars. But don't you agree that these robots and AI are controlled by humans? So indirectly, humans are still the ones terraforming Mars?
Could you repeat that?
You earlier just mentioned that robots and other AI can terraform Mars, but these robots and AI are controlled and coded by humans. So don't you agree that you're conceding the point that indirectly humans are still terraforming Mars?
I would like to point out that we have never said that robots should attempt to terraform Mars, because we've actually been saying that robots are not a part of this, because the resolution states that this House believes humans and not robots should attempt to terraform Mars. My speech is done. Are there any other PLIs? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Going
Is it
forward,
okay? Is it okay if I quickly use the bathroom first?
yes, I'm going to explain that now. Going forward, I would like to give both sides 2 minutes to prepare for your reply speech, which you can use that time effectively. Go ahead and excuse yourself, take a break. Both sides have 2 minutes to prepare yourself for reply speech. Meanwhile, I'll use that time to enter the score.
Just to check. Opposition's going first, right?
Yes, typically opposition starts first for reply speech. All right, 2 minutes is up. I would like to give up to 3 minutes for the reply speaker to give a reply speech. Let me check. The reply speaker for the negative side, persuasion power B, there will be Athena. Yep. Let us know when you're ready. I can't hear you. You're muted yourself.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, no worries.
All right, my time starts in 3, 2, 1. One main theme of this debate is the argument, is the clash that what is necessary for survival. The proposition says that moving to Mars and terraforming it is necessary for survival, and somehow we're going to build back all our we're going to give Earth time to naturally sort of terraform itself, like naturally, obviously, and freshen up its water, and maybe without human activity it'll become better. But like that's not a valid point, because we already damaged Earth, and then after we damage something, we can't build it back. But we have provided you a solution, Judge, that we should just attempt to terraform Earth instead of terraforming Mars. So this also ties in with the fact that the proposition keeps on saying that we're conceding the point that terraforming Mars is a solution. Yes, we're saying that it's a solution, but we're not saying it's a right solution. We're talking about whether or not we're terraforming Mars. They tried to say why we should terraform Mars. However, they did not provide us with a plan. We went a step further. We said why we shouldn't terraform Mars, and we also provided a solution, terraforming Earth, because it's already messed up. And the other side has not done that, which is one of the reasons why we should win this debate. I'm also going to clarify something. The proposition is convinced that we seem to think that exploration is a bad thing. But we're not saying that it's a bad thing. We're saying that terraforming Mars is not the solution to quench our thirst for exploration. We should just either have no return mission to Mars or just simply explore Mars. But no, we should not completely alter Mars for our needs. That's not necessary for exploration. And they keep on also saying that terraforming Mars is perfectly ethical, because it's how we're supposed to survive, right? But like, it's not, like I said earlier, it's not necessary to survive. It's not necessary to terraform Mars to survive. We can just terraform Earth, and it's not. And we shouldn't be like screwing up another planet to the point where it's what Earth is now with rising temperatures. And I think the proposition has just they have a misconception about our arguments, because like we're saying that's not necessary to terraform Mars, but to prolong humanity's survival, it is necessary to terraform Earth, and that's why you should vote for us. And again, we're the opposition for the following resolution. This House believes that humans should attempt to terraform Mars.
Good use of time and good points as well. Elizabeth is the reply speaker for the government side. Am I right? Yes. Ready when you are.
All right, and give me a few seconds to set up my stopwatch.
Take your time.
All righty then. Beginning my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judge, I would like to break this debate down for you. Us, as government, want a society where humans stay alive, innovative, and thinking. Opposition wants stagnation, cowardice, and, of course, the destruction of humanity. Opposition's very opening was conceding to us. They want to back down from a challenge. However, our first and second speakers have repeatedly refuted this point, showing how we should not back away from a challenge and how it will improve humanity as a whole. Furthermore, opposition persists in believing that we will screw up Mars, despite every speaker across the bench showing that we will in fact not do so. That by terraforming Mars, we will simply make it better and more habitable for humanity. In fact, we have conceded that if we do harm any life forms on Mars, it is necessary because, as our second speaker herself said, we need a place to live. What's opposition's response to this? They stated that Earth is far too gone to be saved, yet they insist that Mars should not be terraformed. As our POI showed, this means that they are encouraging and actively admitting that they want to murder the entirety of humanity. Then they contradicted themselves. claiming that they will save Earth by thinning the atmosphere, which directly goes against the statement that they made earlier. Our third speaker showed how they ultimately do not back up their insistence on staying on Earth with proper reasoning and rhetoric. Instead, their case stands in the idea of ethics, which our speakers across the bench have shown is an entire social construct. Even worse, they appear to be living on another world entirely. First, they insist we can terraform Earth. That would be a great thing. But we have already considered such things are simply infeasible. Judge, allow me to bring us all back to reality. All of my speakers across the bench have said we cannot fix what we have broken, but we can try again on Mars and do it better this time. We would love to terraform Earth back to the 19th century. Maybe next we shall try to fly. And lastly, I would like to point out that opposition has consistently, despite all of our efforts to redirect them back to the motion, insisted on going beyond the scope of the debate, showing how they failed to engage in the motion itself. We have not only pointed this out, but also tried to engage them despite this. And do make note, Judge, that opposition has barely even POI'd our second speaker, let alone rebutting any of our points. Well, most of our points, I suppose. Judge, do you want to vote for the side that's humanitarian, innovative, or at the very least understands the motion? If so, I suggest you vote government. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good use of time and good points as well. I'm given the deadline to 10 o'clock to submit my ballot, which I'll do that later. I would like to give feedback to both teams first. The points that I have so far tabulated is 386 points for ZH Martians, the government side. 386 points for ZH Martians, government side. As for the negative side, Persuasion Power B, the negative side, the points is 337. The point is 337. Hence, I declare that ZH Martians, the government side, will be the winner for this debate. And I'll go on to explain how I have come to this conclusion. After I submit the ballot, you can see the point-by-point allocation of the point-to-point allocation of the marks that are given according to style, content, and strategy. I'll give a general review first to explain why I give generally higher points to the government side. Before the debate has started, I have repetitively emphasized that visual presentation is important. To give a good example, see how I am now pulled back so they can see more of my body language, which on that aspect, I think the government side has done well. As a general remark to the negative side, I get the impression that you are reading from a script. You may not be, but I'm talking about my impression. Because I see that I do not get the eye contact from you. Eye contact means you looking at the camera, knowing that we are looking at you, etc. And also looking at how much space you are taking out on the screen. For example, Athena has relaxed a while, so you can see that there's more head space. But just now, you can see more of her, but more to the side. To give an example, I would think that the positive side, Elizabeth has a good hand gesture, especially the part about screw up, she uses hands. On that mark, the third speaker from the government side does have hand gestures, but I believe that can be improved because he keeps doing this, which in a way could be a little turned off, but at least you have some body language, which I think that's useful. Body language helps in terms of when you say things like minimize. You could use a hand to press it down to minimize. And when you say maximize, you can use hands to help to emphasize your point. That's what I meant by body language. So I encourage both sides. Even though the government side has done well in terms of visual presentation, I believe there's still room for improvement. So I encourage you guys to pay more attention to that. Now I'd like to go point by point to individual speakers. The negative side first speaker, Catherine, apart from body language, I believe you benefit most in terms of your vocal variety. Your speaking tends to be a little bit monotonous. It's not totally monotonous, but a little bit, because I don't sense up and downs in terms of your voice, your volume, your pitch, or even just using pauses. I would encourage all debaters to remember this phrase: less is more. Especially when you pause, you give your fellow debaters, the judges, and the audience the time to absorb, to think about what you have just said. This vocal variety. The second debater, just give me a moment to, I have done the flow of the debate whereby I wrote down a lot of notes, so this requires some time for me to go through and find them. Tina, you raised the point about ethics. I would say this is somewhat a shaky argument, which the government side has used that to rebut you by saying what gives you the right to be the one who declare whether it's ethical or not. I would say, I would like to clarify that this motion, if it's a layman kind of debate, honestly, I think it favors the positive side. If we were to put this to vote, whereby laymen, not debaters, not trained debaters, will look at the motion, I believe most people will vote for we should explore Mars, we should terraform Mars. Most people vote for that. Because I've done this topic before, where the motion is more like, should human colonize Mars? If you search the YouTube, there are tutorials actually going for this motion. However, our motion today is slightly different. It's whether we should terraform Mars. There's some underlying commonality to that, which in that sense is not to your advantage. So it's more about how you logically rebut it that will win points for you, even though the motion is not to your advantage. And for the style of debate for this tournament, it's actually more about the burden is on the government side to prove it. And they have used the judging criteria, the term judging criteria, that it is for human survival. If we don't do it, human will not survive. My feedback is that I believe that is what you should attack. By proving them that judging criteria is not right, you dismantle their framework. I have wished that you would do more of that, to dismantle their burden, so that to prove that their judging criteria is not solid, and that you will have win more points instead of using the ethical or not argument. That's my feedback to you, which is why in terms of strategy, I would have given more points for that if you have used less of the ethics point and more about dismantling their framework that is essential for human survival. Going to the negative third speaker, last speaker, Sophia. Thank you for turning on the camera. I appreciate that very much. And that's to your advantage. I do believe that it's a good strategy move to place you as the last speaker, because you do have a good visual presentation. You speak well as well. Occasionally, I can see that you look back at the camera, because I think the camera is to your other side. But I see that most of the time you're actually looking to the other monitor. Maybe that's where you wrote down the points. In both aspects, I'd like to go back to Athena, because you're the reply speaker. I think you did a better job as giving a reply speech than your second speech as a second speaker of your team. Kudos to you. I think you did a very good job for your reply speech. I wish that you have bring out some of the points earlier. Like, for example, you say that the government side did not provide a solid plan. That's the other angle that you could have attacked them if you emphasize more on that instead of the ethics point. First, attack them on their framework, on their point, the judging criteria, their standard that if you do not terraform, human will not survive or less chance of survival. By attacking on that, by saying that there's more chance of survival if you focus on improving Earth, returning back to the 19th century. I wish that you mentioned that early on. The challenge, the focus should be purifying Earth, restoring Earth to how it is like in the 19th century. That would be an ideal point to attack on. Yep, that's the point. So I believe with these three I've talked about for the negative side. Going back to the positive side, the government side, I'd like to also put my point, go to different debaters. Claire? Okay, the beginning when you give the definitions to the motion, I felt that the pace isn't off to a very good start. You mentioned that humans are smart, etc. That doesn't really help with the motion. You did go on to talk about survival. That's a key point, that's a key word. Which on this point, on this aspect, I'd like everyone to think about signposting. Use keywords and repeat them multiple times so they can help judges, help your audience, drive into the mind what are the essential keywords. Signposting, keywords, keywords. If you are good with Chinese, in Chinese there's this word that says 重要事情说三次, which translates to important points, repeat it 3 times. I'm not asking you to repeat the same sentence 3 times, but if you can repeat the keywords multiple times, that will drive the point across. See how I use my hand gesture? That will drive the point across. You talk about moral commitment. Yeah, that's a good point. Where if you talk about survival, encourage scientific development. Likewise, good point as well. I also like to comment that the government team are very good at giving POIs, which is kudos to your side for the government team. On that aspect, the negative side, we will encourage you for future debates to try to give your POIs earlier and also to accept them earlier. That will help you gain more points in terms of presentation. Yep. Especially if the same person debater, your opponent has to ask twice for POI, that doesn't look good on your side. Talking about the second speaker from the government side, Elizabeth, which also did a good job as a reply speaker. You have done well attacking the logical flaw of the negative first speaker. I would think that you have the best eye contact among all the debaters today. So that's a plus point for you. You mentioned some keywords which helps to stick in my mind, such as exploration are the cornerstone of our progress. Exploration, that's a good point of that. Instead of survival, I wrote down the keywords as I go along. By repeating keywords, it helps the judges to make the points. The third speaker from the government side, pardon me, as I'm not very good with certain name pronunciation. Erviat, if I get it right. Good at giving.
Fine, you can continue.
Erviat. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, so my feedback, please.
Yep. I'm looking, just let me scroll to it. You cut to the chase by saying that why is that a bad thing for exploration, which prompts the opposite team to clarify themselves, which is good. You also highlighted the point that who gives you the right to decide whether it's ethical or not. So that's a very strong point as well, which shows that you're a good listener. When you talk about sending people over so they give Earth the time to heal, that is actually quite a shaky point. If I were the opposite team, I would have attacked you on that. Because as they have pointed out, Mars is more than Earth. I I'll add on the point that it probably costs more to send people over than to try to restore Earth to itself. You bring up the point that we have an obligation to do that for our future generation. I kind of paraphrase that. Your point is more like saying that for our future generation, they do not deserve being stuck on Earth, something like that. If you have emphasized on, we have a moral obligation to our future generation to give them more options to survive, that would be a stronger point to go on. Before I submit you also touched on necessary evil. That's a good point. Before I think we have about 5 minutes left before I have to close this session, stop the recording, which I'll provide a version to Rachel. You can ask your coach to ask for a copy of that. Before we close that, in 5 minutes time, I would like to ask hi Rachel, I'd like to ask the debaters if there are any questions you'd like to ask or bring up, feel free. This is a good time for that.
Yes, could I get some feedback on my reply specifically?
Sure, but Lance, heads up, we've got to close this breakout room in 5 minutes, and if you could get that ballot submitted on tab room as soon as possible, we would absolutely love it. Sorry for the rush, but in 5 minutes, this breakout room is going to be closed. So sorry about that.
Okay. I wish there's a fellow judge with me. I enjoyed Paul's comment yesterday. Okay, meanwhile, can we just do this? You guys can go ahead and voice your questions. Due to the limitation of time, I will hold on replying to them, but I'd like to hear your questions. Meanwhile, I'd like to type in your comments before I submit the ballot. Because the comments, you get them. Go on, ask the questions. I'll try to multitask, which I'm not very good at it. Go ahead, please.
Where did I lose most of my points in like my reply speech?
I don't think you're losing points on your reply speech, not on your contents. Where I felt that there's more room for improvement, you just look at yourself right now on the screen. Your more room for improvement is the amount of space, the amount of visual impact. It's more of a style. It's not the content, not on the strategy that I think you lose more points, but more on the style. Look at yourself on the screen now. You're just taking out less than 30% of the screen. I just see your talking head. I don't see your body language. I don't see your eye contact. I don't see your hand gesture. That's the main point. Though the point about ethical, whether it's not ethical to go to terraform Mars, I felt that that's a shaky logical argument. I wish you have attacked more on the survivor part that the government side brought up. That is where I think you could have done better.
All right, thanks. I gotta go now. But
Yep.
Thank you for judging the debate.
Yep. Feel free to ask questions.
I think we are done here.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much
In
for the
that
debate.
case- Yeah, thank you so much for the debate. And thank you, Lance, for judging us. Goodbye.
The debate and
goodbye.
judging. Bye.
Leave the room.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let's see. So it looks like we're still missing ballots from Lance and from Mehak. So all judges but Lance, congratulations. We got your ballots and we're good to go. And Mehak. All right, we're about to begin our round 6. Once again, we are not taking prep for round 6. We're just going to go straight into it in order to make sure that some debaters don't have to stay up until 11 o'clock at night. Trying to make sure everyone can go to sleep at a reasonable hour. So we've announced the motion in advance, and we're just going to go ahead and close these breakout rooms up. Hi, Carlos, how can I help you?
Hello.